11/22/2008, and the Fed rally outside the Federal Reserve office in Detroit.
Why is that bridge closed down?
People got some real signs here. Well, it's like lame thing.
Hey, Scotty!
Walking, no standing still. You can't protest and stand still. That's a rule. That makes a lot of sense. As long as you're constantly moving, it's okay to protest.
It helps us keep warm.
Right. Something about it.
You're supposed to take 2.5 hours. I can't get over it.
So they're probably all done. Okay, thank you. I'm here. The U.S. Treasury has to start issuing silver certificates so that our money can actually be backed by the silver certificate. Right now, with it being in the U.S. Reserve, the Federal Reserve, it's not backed by anything. And they only have a certain set amount of gold, and they keep on printing more money. So our money isn't worth anything.
More bailouts.
Right now, our money is only worth like 0.005 ounces of gold. So if we put the power back into the U.S. Treasury, then our money will be backed by silver certificates, and our money will actually eventually start getting out of this deficit that we're in.
Why a silver standard rather than basing it on some other precious metal?
Well, we could have it backed by gold, but the fact is that right now the silver certificates aren't allowed to be made. They're only allowed to be processed by the President of the United States of America. So if we allow the U.S. Treasury to start doing it, then our money could be actually worth something. I mean, eventually we could get into gold and start backing it with that, but we've got to start somewhere. So it's just like, it's basically the same exact thing that JFK was trying to implement into order when he had his Executive Order 11110. What he was trying to do is he was trying to circulate the U.S. Treasury notes back into the system and taking the Federal Reserve notes out. So it's just a matter of power back to the U.S. Treasury. It'll basically take about a year to get the Federal Reserve notes out of circulation. We don't know!
And one last question. What do you say to the argument that the Treasury is there to that the Fed is there to depoliticize the Treasury?
I think that the Federal Reserve Bank is trying to take control over everything. I mean, they're international bankers that have come in, so of course they're going to try to do that.
The idea of backing it with gold would be nice if the globalists weren't hoarding all the gold and purchasing it and storing it and making it unavailable. So the whole system needs to change. I don't know what it needs to change to, but I know that they're robbing us.
What would you say to backing our currency with a commodities package of a mutual fund of commodities?
I don't know.
Information or anything, just let me know. I tried to call him and I left a message. Oh, I didn't leave a message. I could try to call him again.
More police protection, guys. Yeah, actually. I'm going to get my car and drive this off the horse. Hey, hey, turn the lights on. We can't
So we have about 4 police cars here right now for a protest of, I don't know, we'll say 100 people. Do you think that's proportional to the safety threat? Or
I think that they're probably taking an opportunity to survey what's going on, you know, and what kind of people are here protesting, if they're going to need more backup or this or that. But I think they see this as a peaceful protest, and I talked to the person in charge, and she says as long as we respect the easement, the city easement, their private property, and protest without any sort of violence or vile behavior, then they're fine with it.
So according to the police, this is private property and not government property here.
This area here is the Federal Reserve's property.
Okay.
From the grass to the sidewalk. The sidewalk is public, a public pathway, and then the city median. This is what she's telling me.
Okay.
So,
does that tell us whether the Fed is a private or government entity?
Well, we know the Fed is private. They're not a government agency. They're no more federal than Federal Express. And so it's a private bank for profit. Its board of governors are controlled by 2/3 of foreign bankers, and they're here to make a profit, and at the expense of the American public. So that's what the Fed is all about. The Fed prints money out of thin air. It creates it out of thin air and issues it to the American public at interest. It's a monster of a form of enslavement, because the people don't know that they're enslaved. You know, the people are forced to use this money. The Federal Reserve and the government dictates its value, how much you can buy with it. One day it's more, one day it's less. And so what we want to do is get away from centralized banking. It's unconstitutional in this country, but it's immoral. It's unethical, and it never works. It always implodes on itself. What we want is the people to be in charge of their own wealth, to produce their wealth, to save with their wealth, to trade with their wealth or barter, and to pay their taxes to the government with their wealth, which would put the people once again in charge over their servant government. And so that's the goal, is to get support for H.R. 2755, the Federal Reserve Board Abolition Act, and that be the first step into repealing the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 and returning our country to once again the practice of sound money, gold, silver, something of wealth bearing, not of debt. So the illustration I'll give you is that this represents debt. It represents enslavement. It represents poverty. It represents control over the people. This is enslavement. Okay. Now this represents wealth. This represents freedom. This represents the power of the people over its servant government, right here. So you have debt, and you have wealth. You have freedom, you have enslavement. And so that's the difference.
And for their children's future.
I know, but I tried explaining to my mom, she was like, totally clueless.
I'd say 5% or somewhat.
And why are you here today, David?
We're here to restore honest money. The Federal Reserve has usurped the Constitution and the principles of honest money, and we're here to bring the government into line with the Constitution, get the government, private bankers out of our lives.
What provision specifically in the Constitution makes this illegal?
All the money should be in gold or silver under the Constitution, the monetary system. Silver, which stabilizes currency. We have now is a fiat money system, which has some value to it, therefore can be manipulated as it is by the people, international bankers.
Sorry.
And the Fed! We want gold! And the Fed! We want gold! And the Fed! We want gold!
I don't care if you want to take hormones, stay here a minute.